Hey guys, it's ChairGTables. So once again, we've reached the end of the year. I've developed less games this year, particularly because I've graduated college in May, so I don't really have to make games for class projects anymore. At least with that, I was able to put time and love into games like Super Ledgehop. But before we get into that game release on Steam, let's talk about the last games I've developed in college. First, let me show you the game I've developed for my virtual reality class called Super Big Bro Quest. I want to be the king of the skies. I gotta let you know though, that I really do not have any interest in developing for virtual reality. But with the limited options for game development classes in my university's computer science major, I just tried to get as much classes related to game development. But since I really don't have a strong interest in virtual reality, I kinda wanted to implement intense gameplay found in normal games, rather than the game world interaction that VR excels in. So I ended up with this game, which is a mix of endless winter games you see in VR and bullet hell games. In fact, the whole idea came from a comment in a video about a 3D rendition of Total 6, a bullet hell game. The game ended up being okay, I guess. I kinda hated the fact that I always have to drive to school just for us to test the functionality with VR. Actually, I barely even touched the VR implementation. I really only cared about the gameplay, so I handled most of the controls and making the enemies. No, you actually don't move forward in this game. I simply tricked the eye by making all the mountains move towards you. There's only 3 bosses in this game, but the game loops after you defeat the 3rd boss. You get faster and faster after each boss you defeat, so that kinda gives an increasing amount of infinite levels. I kinda wanted this game to be more, but we only had a few weeks to develop this game, and I'm really only familiar working with 2D environment rather than a 3D environment. The game's not really good, but hey, it's something! And now for the next game. It's literally the same game, but watered down. But why is Star Azure Bluechouli the same game? Well, you see, this class is called Game Engine Architecture, so we had to kinda create our own game engine with only a graphics engine. So all we had was Eclipse as our development environment with C++ and Ogre 3D, which is a graphics engine. With this, it took so long for us just to find out how to make sounds happen, and how to remove objects from the game. Sure, not destroying objects would be fine for other projects in our class, but this is a bullet hell, where there are hundreds of bullets happening at once. If we didn't delete objects, it would cause ridiculous slowdowns. So this is what we ended up with, a bullet hell boss rush game that crashes after you defeat the final boss. The game isn't really good, and that's why I made Super Big Bro Quest happen. It's just so that I can see how making a 3D bullet hell works in a better light. Yeah, Super Big Bro Quest was made in Unity, but at least it took me less than half the time to see how bullet patterns happened. But hey, I'm glad we were able to make a game in an environment we aren't familiar with. But I don't think I ever want to go through installing all the libraries and setups required for Ogre 3D to work with Eclipse, which is why I'm just using footage from my friend's phone during our presentation in class. Alright, let's step away from the bullet hells for now, because there's gonna be more. Let's have a change of pace with my internet security class project, Hat Phreak. So normally the final project of this class is just a research paper on any topic related to internet security. Initially, we were just going to write a paper about CAPTCHA, but on a day I decided to skip class just to work on other game projects, my team members were able to get permission from the professor to develop a game instead. After finding that out, we immediately dropped our initial idea and decided to make a simulation on a bunch of topics that we learned in class. We first thought about doing a tower defense game on preventing hackers from getting into the system, but then I thought it would be more fun if you were the hacker. And so we came up with a game where you play as a hacker named John Smith, who is a girl whose name isn't really John Smith. So it's a reverse tower defense game where you lead your purple packets towards a victim to cause a denial of service attack, while also avoiding being detected and arrested by the cops. The player's purple packets are larger in number, as it represents an attacker's attempt to slow down a user's network path. The areas the packets move around in represents the routers and connections, which are shown as nodes and paths that connect the nodes. Instead of worrying about things that will kill your packets like in many tower defense games, the player has to worry about the security measures the victim goes through. The victim can perform IP tables, which turn some nodes red. In real life, IP tables works in a way where it can drop interactions happening from your selected connections. This means that all packets that came from a red node will disappear once they reach their goal, so you deal no damage to the victim. This also reduces the time the victim takes to perform an IP traceback, as they are getting ideas on where John Smith is located. In order to counter the IP traceback from finding you out, you have to activate a decoy to spawn zombie packets from a different IP address. This will also help confuse the IP traceback by making it go towards a different IP address rather than yours, so that you won't get arrested. If you're too late, it's over for John Smith and she can no longer feed her cats. In the end, we had 100% in our project, even though it's not really 100% accurate depiction of what happens on the DOS attack. But hey, I think it kinda gives off a basic idea on what actually happens. Let's get back to familiar territory, namely Bullet Hell and Yuuto Ichika. That's right, Bluechouli is back in a 2D game developed for Toho Fan Game Jam 2. In this game jam, the theme is only once. To fit with the theme, we kinda made it the origin story of our bootleg Patchouli, Yuuto Ichika. Ironically enough, the final boss is Patchouli, and the fight really shows that the spells you've learned are weaker compared to the genuine Patchouli, thus showing that Yuuto is indeed a bootleg. Anyways, the game is themed after only once, as Yuuto is able to cast a spell when she is holding an object. The object disappears once you cast a spell. If you used up the last rock around the area, it's going to be a struggle. To be safe, you can just pick up objects and throw them at enemies to deal basic damage. But using spells is rather important in this game, as they become stronger the more spellbooks you pick up. Your tiny fireball can become a devastating flood of flames by the end of the game. Your weak ice spikes can become a dangerously huge area full of ice spikes that can fill up the entire screen. By the end of the game jam, we were able to get 3rd place. But I was rather not satisfied. You see, for the 3 days of the game jam, it was supposed to be a nice visit to our friendly lead developer of another game development team, Flying Pudding Studios, who are trying to make a visual novel about famous chefs, but as waifus. Instead of spending a lot of time hanging out with my friend, I just spent a large majority of my time in his house just working on the game. I was going to use the time after the game jam to do fun activities, but I was too tired from staying up for 72 hours that I just fell asleep immediately. But this isn't the end for Yuuto Ichika. Yuuto Ichika makes an appearance for a second Steam release, Super Ledgehop Double Laser, a bullet hell game where you can shoot to the beat of the music. Well, she isn't playable, rather she's just a mid-boss and an assist character. You know, we're getting a bit too ahead. Let's discuss about Super Ledgehop's beginnings first. You see, last year we released the quarter game to Steam just as a way to get feedback right away on what to fix when we work on Super Ledgehop. Yes, the quarter game is technically the beta version of Super Ledgehop, disguised as another game more towards close combat. But you see, the quarter game and Super Ledgehop was made for a senior projects class. By the end of December 2017, we needed to submit a beta version for a senior project, thus we created the quarter game. It was treated more as a practice project to prepare ourselves for Super Ledgehop. You can even see that the quarter game was really the alpha version because of how we used the quarter game sprites for the earliest versions of Super Ledgehop. Super Ledgehop actually went through many changes. Initially, Super Ledgehop was planned to only have 4 stages and a much simpler storyline about a girl trying to defeat evil scientists with her crazy inventions. Well, now we have a story about a girl who's literally trying to fight against the government, and there's like 5 stages now with an extra stage. The whole evil scientist thing was dropped and was only referenced in the bonus room for the game. But you see, even though the game was initially much smaller, we actually couldn't finish the game when we graduated. It was a very embarrassing mess. We had an event in our university where we had to show off our graduating projects to business people and other schools. What we had presented was a very sad game. There was only one level, a fight against a 3rd stage boss, and a survival mode. The first level was not even complete. Many young students were able to walk off the first part of stage 1 because I forgot to put a wall. I also forgot to remove the debug function for using the special move, so young students were able to spam it unlimited times and survive longer in survival mode. There's also the music block that blocks your way to force you to learn how to shoot to the beat of the song, but instead of blocking your way, it somehow kills you in one hit. The dialogue is also weird, and Chizuru is the only one who has an animated mouth. Also, you can literally walk away from the mid-boss fight here. and just click through the door blocking your way that was supposed to teach you how the absorbing mechanic works. The whole game was just sad. Yuuto Ichika wasn't even in the game we showed off. Even after advertising in the Star Azure Bluechouli game that Yuuto will make a return for the senior project game, she was never seen. We ran out of time. I tried my hardest, but it was impossible, even though I stayed up for 5 days straight prior to the last day. I had to because I had no choice. There were final exams and all of the games I previously mentioned were due. I stayed up each day trying to finish each game and studied just enough so I could get a passing grade for my exams. Super Ledgehop was the last thing that was due that week, but then I was caught off guard. I fell asleep while working on it. I woke up 2 hours just prior to submitting the project. Stage 1 was not even complete, so I quickly just made a survival mode to compensate, as I had no time. Survival mode was pointless, as you just try to kill as much enemies as you can with a counter. We somehow got 3rd place in our class, but I was still sad. I'm not sad because we didn't get 1st place. I mean, there's really no way Ledgehop could touch this awesome spaceflight simulator and this drumming game. But what we finished for our graduation in May wasn't how I wanted Super Ledgehop to be seen. But you know, it doesn't mean we had to stop. That's right, it's no longer about the due date. It's about the satisfaction of the player. Mid-boss skipping issue? Fix that. Door issue? Fix that. Missing Yuuto Ichika? Fix that with references from her previous game. Clipping through walls? Well, it's better to a degree and at least helps speedrunners. Even the survival mode ended up having a purpose. Now you get to fight a secret boss after defeating 100 enemies, and it's a pretty tough one. In addition to that, you'll get access to a bonus room to learn more about the game. It even explains how the survival mode, now known as Thug Wars, connects to the plot of the game. We were able to release it many months later, and it's way better than what we had in May. Getting a lot of positive feedback for this game made it feel like it was really worth it. And with speedruns of this game happening, there's no way I'll let this game die yet. I'll get that world record one day. I only wish I could go back in time and show my class that this is what I really wanted Super Ledgehop to be. The Super Ledgehop that I dearly love. But sadly, I will never be able to get that chance. This isn't Chizuru's last appearance. Remember how I said the quarter game was an alpha of Super Ledgehop? Well, Super Ledgehop 2 is an alpha of a much bigger game that will take many years to develop. So it won't be our next Steam release. Rather, our next release will be another game in a smaller scale. And when that big game happens, you'll be seeing the protagonists of each game as part of the main cast for the big game. But that'll be for another time. I hope you enjoy your 2019. I won't be making a lot of games from now on since I graduated college, but that only means I'll make higher quality games that I put my heart and love into. If you too are a developer, please show me your projects, as I love seeing other people's work. Also, happy birthday to the best bootleg girl of all,